Let's start in 5 seconds.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I can start.
Hello. Well, I'm very excited to be discussing Web 3.0 today with Robby from Animoca brands. Robby, would you like to introduce yourself first?
Sure. Hi, I'm Robby from Animoca brands, and let's see, been with the company for 10 years now, more than 10 years, and we make games. So we make, blockchain games. We focus on the intersection of games and Web3. We've been doing that particular type of gaming for the last 5 years. We're big supporters of the ecosystem generally, and I think often we're sometimes better known for our investing activity. So we spend a lot of time and we're quite active. I think actually perhaps even the most active investor in Web3. And we do that around the core of our games business. So we invest in all types of Web3 culture, gaming, art, fashion, music, and DeFi, and as well as obviously all of the infrastructure pieces, so technologies that go towards building great blockchain experiences.
Right, I think that my first question after that outstanding introduction will be about one specific DAO that you told me a few weeks ago in London that again will probably change the space, the metaverse space. I would like to speak about this metaverse standard that will bring coherence to the whole industry. Can you guide us a little bit more on this new initiative?
Sure. So we call it OMA3, or the Open Metaverse Alliance, with a 3 for Web3, to remind everybody that Web3 is an important underpinning component of this. And so the Open Metaverse Alliance is an organization which we are one of many members, and it's a grassroots organization where we and many other companies in the space have come together to try to self-organize, and ultimately in a DAO format, because that's germane to being in Web3, but to organize to talk about what kind of standards can we share amongst each other to really promote interoperability in Web3, because I think there are two key pillars to Web3 from a content standpoint. One is true digital ownership, and then the second one, once you have ownership, is interoperability, because I think users and customers and players, there's an assumption once you own a digital item, then I want to bring it with me. If I can have it here, why can't I have it there? And so this interoperability is really important, and we wanted to try to put together an alliance of companies in the space to think about the best ways in which to do that. Not to say we want to set standards and everybody must adhere to our standards, but more like, how can we bring up this topic and get consensus and input from the community to figure out just some basic ideas around standards that can help us to push the space forward.
How much time do you think is going to be needed for those standards to take place or to be adopted by the majority of the brands in the metaverse space?
So I think that there are two different approaches to this. One is people, on one side trying to put together the standards and trying to play an active role in participating and influencing and contributing to the standards. And then I see other people interested, or other companies interested in OMA3, because they just want to know, okay, so what is the standard? I'm thinking about building a new project, and so it would be helpful to me to understand what are the standards so that I can ensure that my stuff is as broadly compatible with everybody else as possible. And so those are the two camps. I think that creating standards is very hard, and it's something that is and building broad industry consensus is also difficult, and we're trying to do this in the most fair and open way possible, because we think that's in keeping with the spirit of Web3. Unfortunately, a byproduct of that will be that it takes more time. So I think this is a process that will be ongoing for many years. But we're trying to kickstart the process amongst each other, amongst the founding members, and in the case of ourselves, where we have many different projects under our own roof, between our own projects. And some of these standards are, that we're thinking about relate not just to token interoperability, because that is sometimes quite straightforward, but more things around graphical interoperability. What resolution are your graphic elements going to be? If you're going to have playable NFT characters in a game, when you bring them to another game, are they going to be too big or too small to fit into the, so what's the translation mechanism? It's those nuances that are going to be the hardest. And I think that some of these standards will end up as an outgrowth of just community experimentation, where we're trying to, put two projects together on a bespoke basis, and a standard is born because we're trying to solve a problem.
Yeah, no. I think my next question will be, how are you guys gonna include tech giants, like, for example, Facebook? What is going to be the role of Facebook in this standard? Because I strongly believe that Facebook at some point, his metaverse, should adapt to this new proposal. What is your initiative on?
So there is another initiative that was announced called the Metaverse Standard Forum, I think it's called, MSF, and of which Meta is a part. And they're focusing on some different areas than the ones we initially wanted to focus on. And I think that we also want to, and we've expressed to them an interest to see how we can work together, because I think that we were very careful when we planned this out to think about what we wanted to include in our mission. And you'll notice the first word in the name is open. So openness is the principle that, underlies everything we're doing. We want these to be open standards so that everybody can build and everybody has equal access to the playing field. That's very important to us. And also we put a 3 in it in our acronym because we think Web3 is a very key part of this. We think that building on blockchain is a fundamental technology and inextricably linked from the openness, because we have, the ability to have all of this information shared and transparent on chain. And that's an important part also of the system.
I think my next question will be for the audience that maybe it's the first time that they're hearing about the DAO. How do we find the first few rules for the standard, the first few guidelines of the standard? Where are they available somewhere? Where can they get access to it?
Sure. So the short answer is no, because very much it's still a work in progress. As I said, these things take time, and at the moment we're in the process of self-organizing. So this kicked off by 12 or 15 companies, of people. We all knew each other, and we all have, we've all been in the space for many years. And so we kicked off the idea and then put out a press release and a request for people who are interested to contact us. We have been overwhelmed with the response, I have to say. I'm quite surprised. Close to 1,000 companies have contacted us. Wow. And I did not expect a number that big, which I think is a great indicator of the health of our space and the interest in what we're doing. And also it's an indicator of the need for there to be more guidelines for us all to figure out how to get this interoperability thing done, because it's so tricky. And so the stage where we are right now is essentially we have set up our organization. We have to set up a foundation to do this. And we have largely figured out the governance framework, because the hardest part is in creating a DAO like this, we want to make sure that we can make sure that everybody's voices are heard. And so we have to figure out the mechanism by which we raise issues and we vote upon issues and people contribute and, get their contributions recognized. So setting up this framework, this, constitution, if you will, takes a little bit of time. And so we're just at the tail end of that. And we hope to really get our first working groups underway this autumn.
Good. Who are part of this initiative? If you can name some of the companies that, of course, are being involved in this. project?
Sure. So of the founding group, it includes companies like Upland, Alien Worlds, Sandbox, Decentraland, Star Atlas, Dapper Labs. I'm trying to think, I'm going to miss out people. The Metaverse, and Space Metaverse, and Somnium Space, and there are many others as well. Sorry for the ones I'm forgetting at the moment. Splinterlands.
It's quite a big list already. Quite a big list.
Yes.
Great. So I think I have covered all the questions that the followers have made us regarding this Open Metaverse initiative. I think now I would like to jump more on how Animoca Brands is accelerating the creator economy, because that's, again, I think that we know in Animoca by being, again, one of the biggest developers in the blockchain space, but more importantly, how small creators can benefit from Animoca Brands. That's a question that I'm getting a lot, and I think that it will be good for you maybe to reply on this.
Sure. So I think we try to work with, small creators in several different ways. So obviously we have subsidiaries and investees that are platforms in and of themselves where creators can build things. So we have subsidiaries like the Sandbox, where users can create content inside the Sandbox. We have investees like Galaxy, off the top of my head, where creators can use a tokenized ecosystem to be able to monetize their own content and relationships with fans and followers. We of course make investments in companies, and small and new upcoming companies appeal to us all the time for investment inquiries. So obviously, and those can be made through our website. And then also we have an NFT accelerator. Together, it's called Launchpad Luna, which we do in partnership with Brink. And we do cohorts of startup companies in that accelerator program who are interested in building in Web3, and particularly building using NFTs for content. And so that's another program where we work with up and coming companies.
I think that NFT accelerator point is, again, will be good to just get deep on this. How can someone get involved in the NFT accelerator? Who can get involved? And how is the onboarding process?
So anybody can apply. You just go to, let me see what the website is called. It's called Launchpad Luna, and the website is, I will get you the website, but you can apply on the website, and we run cohorts. And let me see, I am going to put it in the chat here, and maybe you can share it with everybody. And so you can apply on the website, and we run cohorts, like most accelerators. Usually we run between 3 and 4 cohorts per year. And so there will be an application process, and then there will be pitch days, and companies will pitch themselves to the accelerator. And those that are accepted into the program will be eligible for funding, as well as mentorship, and the other services of the accelerator. And then they will be accepted into the program. And we do probably anywhere between 15 and 30 companies per cohort, usually.
Okay. I was expecting only 1, but 30 is quite a big number.
Yes, and it's across all different kinds of content categories, and this is why also we do it with our partners at Brink, because they're quite a well-known and experienced operator of accelerator programs. We partnered with them to provide the Web3 and NFT related domain expertise, to provide the mentors, and obviously some of the financing, but Brink helps us to manage the process in a very specific way, because I think great accelerator programs, obviously Y Combinator being the most famous in the tech space, I think have the ability to, through wonderful process over a reasonably brief period of time, help companies to really figure out how to get to the next level, how to engage with mentors, and how to really think about what's important in their business to help get them what they need, whether it's customers or improvements in technology or, helping to identify the right, key hires, etc.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that now we jumped into the accelerating topic because, again, Animoca is now very well known because of the investment arm. And I would like to know which are the major tech trends or trends that Animoca will be investing in this 2022 and 2023. What Animoca believes is going to be the probably 3 or 4 more important topics in the space to invest. What is your opinion?
So this is when I say first, this is not investment advice, but I think there's lots of things that excite me. It's difficult to pin down just a single one because part of the beauty of Web3 is this interoperability aspect and the fact that we can bring together what were previously siloed types of content to interoperate. So I think that actually the trend that I'm seeing for the next couple of years or from now going forward really is more about interoperability. And we're starting to see some of those in the form of content collaborations. So for example, we do a lot of work with Yuga Labs, who we invested in, and who has the Bored Ape Yacht Club project. And we work with them on a variety of different co-branded products, whether it's a game product, which we're building together with them, or it's helping them to launch the Other Side metaverse, or it's our own games accepting ApeCoin, or in the sandbox being able to bring your Bored Ape character and have it generated as a voxel 3D character inside the sandbox. Providing that interoperability, I think, is a key to this next phase of growth in Web3 content. And I think you'll see a lot more projects now starting to embrace these kind of collaborations where they build a great activity that you can enjoy as a standalone activity, but it's really all that much better because you can bring your content from somewhere else, or you can take this content over here, over there.
And I think that's the beauty of Web3, as you said, because in Web2 it's all about competition, while in Web3, in this case, as you said, against Yuga Labs, it's more about collaborating. How can you take the best of both brands? And any updates? I think here I will open a space for updates from Animoca. Any updates that you would like to bring to the public that you're excited about? Do you think that everyone should be knowing at the moment and talking about this? Any update from Animoca brands that you would like to share with Robby Strider?
I think let's see. 2 game updates. So obviously Phantom Galaxies and Life Beyond are our 2 big titles for launch this summer. Obviously people are aware of the sandbox, which has just gone into its 3rd season. But I think in terms of other types of game content they may not be as familiar with on blockchain, I think Phantom Galaxies and Life Beyond show them more traditional AAA style experiences that are possible with blockchain. But I think something else people might not be thinking about is education. So we recently completed the acquisition of a company called TinyTap, where we were a shareholder for many years. And this is a primarily mobile platform for creators. But in this case, the creators are educators, so teachers. And they create content drawing on a huge library of both licensed content and content that the community has created to create lessons and activities for students. And this is an area that really interests us because we feel like, when you think of all of the different types of content creator platforms that blockchain can provide, that financial underpinning, that infrastructure that will allow for direct economic relationships between creators and customers, education is massive, and it's an area that's been underserved.
What's the model of that education? How is that education will be structured, and in which topics?
So essentially what it does is it allows teachers to create classroom materials and course materials, but to properly manage their ownership and copyright of those materials, so that when they place those materials in the TinyTap community, anybody else is free to use them, but they must pay royalties to use them. They have to honor the copyright of the original creator. So it allows for a very open system of sharing on a community basis, but also to track the royalties and properly recognize the work that has gone into creating that content. And I think that's really important because while these types of systems have existed for the sharing previously, the digital rights management piece has not been possible before blockchain. And to really be able to recognize teachers for that work that they do and that IP input that they put into the content.
Yeah, I'm shocked because this could change so much the educational business. Again, content creation in general. This could disrupt the whole business structure of academies in general, trading academies, fashion academies, everywhere. And even like physical academies, it could transform like everything we know. I imagine that even universities at some point.
Yes.
This is huge. And when is this going to be released? I think you said, of course, the summer. Is there a date approximately? And how can people get involved in this launching phase?
Sure. So I think the exciting part is that, like many projects we're involved with, TinyTap is actually, not a new business. It's an existing Web2 business. So anybody can go and download TinyTap and check it out. And now we've begun the process of bringing them into Web3 and of tokenizing their content and tokenizing their in-game economy for the benefit of teachers. So that's a process that we're going through now. But I'm excited to say if people want to check it out, you can download it right now and see what you think.
Will do right away after this call, right now.
Good.
Good. And I think that my next question will be how easy is for the ones that, again, let's say an FX Academy. Let's put an example of an FX Academy. How easy it is for that educator to get into the app? Is
very easy. Anybody can do it. Yes. And the thing is that the idea behind TinyTap to begin with was that there would be a whole library of materials you could draw upon. You don't have to originate everything because maybe you want to just teach something about, Spanish history or something, or French history. And then there are materials on that and you design the coursework, but there is already licensed libraries of images and text and things that you can use to assemble into that coursework. So there's lots of resources there. There are some of the biggest libraries, that come from educational publishers that we have licensed to put into the platform.
Outstanding. Is this going to be at some point also be working with universities and traditional education? How do you see that vision?
Good question. I hope so. I think for now it's a grassroots kind of movement in the same way that platforms like YouTube started as a grassroots organization. And so it's really about empowering individual creators and teachers. And I think that the flexibility of it as a platform means that you can use it in the context of your university if you want to, but it's up to the individual teacher to decide how they want to use it.
How they want to use it, exactly. Interesting. I think this is going to be a major competitor for Coursera, Udemy, and a lot of platforms out there.
Well, hopefully we can just inspire them, because I think the point here is to show people what happens when you have the benefits of Web3 inside a product like that. And so I think what we want to do is just really show people what's possible and get them thinking about why, their digital content lives can be enhanced and their experience can be so much better with the benefit of Web3 inside.
Yeah, no, outstanding. Again, I'm going to be the first one to download TinyTap after this and try it out myself. What other updates would you like to bring to the table apart from those two? I think that those are pretty huge ones already.
Sure. No, I think those are most of the big ones. I think this push on education is very important. I think we're going to see a lot of new stuff over the next 6 months or so coming from other cultural categories. So things like fashion and music. And particularly, if you look at season 3 of the Sandbox, for example, I think this goes along with